another Silverbird Selection game review. This time around I'll be reviewing the game that you voted for in the Silverbird packaging. This vote was between Cauldron and Fighter Pilot, and surprisingly to me, I expected a lot of people to vote for Cauldron, but actually the winning game was Fighter Pilot. So I'll be playing that in just a moment, but first, this hair, I've got to do something about it. It's getting out of hand and there's no way I can become Top Gun with a haircut like this. So let's get it sorted. That's more like it. Fighter Pilot was released originally by Digital Integration in 1984, then re-released by Silverbird in 1988. And in this packaging, the Silverbird packaging, it's quite a rare game. I've only seen one copy on eBay since I started this series. It's still on there because they want £10 for it. But luckily for me, I managed to find a copy from the Retro Cavern, and that only cost me £1.95, so I'm really pleased about that. So enough talking about the game, let's get on and play it. Let's take a look at the front cover in more detail then. As you can see, it's Silverbird range, pink and black stripes. We've got the Fighter Pilot logo, which is quite nicely done in a sort of diagonal style, alongside a fighter jet. Don't know what kind of jet that is, because I'm not really into planes and stuff like that, but it looks quite decent, not a bad illustration on the front. Spine has got the Fighter Pilot logo again, but in a slightly different style to fit on the spine. And then on the back we've got the 4 screenshots as usual, all of which look to be pretty much the same thing. It's a cockpit view, and presumably the green is land and the blue is sky on each of those, so you've got the plane in various orientations there. The last one does have it shooting something, I think there. You can see like some blue lines, or it might be the runway on the ground, I'm not sure. Anyway, and the blurb says, fly an F-15 Eagle, which tells me what kind of plane that was on the front, I guess, and become Top Gunner. So inside we've got some screenshots of other exciting Silverbird titles, in this case Night Gunner, Skateboard Joust, Rebel Star 2 and Hopper Copper. So that's quite a nice layout there, and inside we've got absolutely nothing, because this is another one of those Silverbird Firebird games that comes with a separate instruction manual. So here you can see it's got the Silverbird logo and Fighter Pilot on the front there. You've then got the basic overview of the game. You can see there it's copyright Digital Integration. That's the original releasers of the game, the original publishers. So you can see there Fighter Pilot is a real-time flight simulation based on the F-15 Eagle, USAF's air superiority jet fighter. So you've got the loading instructions, and then lots of very detailed instructions about the different game modes. You've got landing and flying training, air-to-air combat practice, real air-to-air combat, and then a variety of landing simulations and things as well. And then it's got the details of all the instruments on your instrument panel in the game: artificial horizon, speed, altitude, flaps, thrust, radar, combat mode, flight computer, and fuel. And then you've got the keyboard controls, and you can also use a joystick to actually control the plane there on the back there. So pretty comprehensive instructions, as you might expect for a game that's quite complicated to play. Let's see how we get on playing the game. So here we have a loading screen of sorts. It's actually just a white screen that says Fighter Pilot is loading, but we also have some music. Which, to be fair, is fairly terrible, but you know, it's some music while the game's loading. Can't say fairer than that, can you? The game's loaded then, and as you can see we've got a title screen, reasonably well done, not very colourful, but you've got the Fighter Pilot logo. As you can see, it was by DK Marshall, adapted by Daryl D. I think this was originally a Spectrum game. You've got a fairly nice drawing of a jet fighter there, Digital Integration logo and the copyright 1984, and a little wizard, which I'm not sure what that's about. I guess that's Daryl D's little sort of version of himself or something along those lines. We've also got the same terrible music that was on the loading process, which thankfully you can get past by pressing space to select the game options. And as you can see, there are plentiful game options. We've got landing practice, flying training, air-to-air combat practice, air-to-air combat, blind landing, crosswinds and turbulence, and then the final option is where you choose your pilot rating. So I'm going to stick with a rating of trainee because I've barely played this game. I have had a few goes practicing at taking off, which you do with the flying training option 2. Haven't practiced landing because frankly landing sounds really boring. I tried the air-to-air combat practice, didn't find a single enemy to shoot, but I think I was doing it wrong because I wasn't using the map. And then I've since had a go of air-to-air combat, which is what I'm going to do on this demonstration and this review, because that seems the most comprehensive and complete way of playing the game. So I'm going to go with air-to-air combat, option 4. And as I said, I'm going to stick with pilot rating trainee. You can use the joystick to switch between pilot ratings, but as I said, I'm sticking with trainee. And then we press space for takeoff. So we start off on the runway. That's what those blue lines on the horizon are. So the first thing we've got to do is take off, but just before we do, let's just talk about some of the stuff on the control panel. So going left to right, you've got the radar, and you might see a little flashing dot above the image of the plane there. That's sort of a target effectively that you have to aim for. We've got speed and flaps. I don't know what flaps do really. I'm not going to be using flaps during this gameplay. I think that might be more when you're landing that you need the flaps. So you've got speed, you've got pitch and roll in the middle, you've got thrust below that, you've got altitude, you've got VSI, which is indicating whether you're currently going up or down, ascending or descending. You've got a flight computer, and you've got a fuel gauge and a couple of other things at the bottom right, ammo, and the 3 sort of dots in a triangular shape that are currently green is your undercarriage status. So the first thing to do is take off. There's lots of keyboard controls in this. I'm not going to use too many of them because a lot of them are things like brakes and flaps and stuff like that, which I just don't need, I don't think, during this particular bit of the simulation. So let's start by thrusting. You can see the thrust increasing. You use a keyboard control, it's Q for that. So as the speed increases, eventually I'm going to have to take off. So wait till I get up to 100 mile an hour or something like that. Then take off by using the joystick to pull up. And then I've got to get reasonable altitude before raising the undercarriage, but I've also got to do it before... Oh dear, I'm collapsing here. What's going on? Not thrusting enough. There we go. So I've got to get to reasonable altitude and then... Oh no, I'm collapsing again. I'm not sure what's going on here. Seem to just be crashing. Okay, I've levelled myself up. Right, so let's see if I can put the undercarriage up now. You do by pressing U. There we go, the undercarriage up. If you don't do that before you get to 300 miles an hour, or whatever it is, 300 knots it might be, then you crash. So I've got to pass that first hurdle. Let's increase the speed. Actually, the speed's going up reasonably nicely now. Altitude's going up. I'm going to get up to about 10,000 feet. I'm at about 5,000 at the moment. Okay, things seem to be going okay now. My altitude's still going up. My speed's going up a bit more now. I think I was going up at too high an angle. So I'll get up to about 500 miles an hour or whatever I'm doing. Get my altitude up to 10,000 and then we'll start having a look at where the enemies are to engage. So to decrease thrust you press A. Okay, there we go. So let's try and level off and maintaining a steady altitude is quite difficult, I've found. But basically you have to get the horizon pretty much in the middle of the screen as you'd expect. So now I'm decelerating and also going back down, decreasing altitude. There we go, I've finally levelled off. And I'm doing 615 mile an hour, so that'll do. So I'm up in the air, that's the first challenge over. As you can see, the graphics for your environment are not very detailed. It's literally just blue for the sky and green for the land, and that's it. So let's take a look at the map, which you do by pressing M. As you can see on the map there, I am the plane that's just to the right of the base where I took off. And there's also an enemy plane which is approaching that base, which is denoted, it looks slightly different, it's more of a triangle than an actual plane shape. So at the moment I'm not on any kind of intercept with that plane, I'm going away from it. So the first thing I need to do is turn around and chase after that plane and try and catch up with it. The aim of this, by the way, is to, I think, to destroy 4 planes that are trying to attack your 4 bases. So let's turn around and at least get on the same sort of trajectory. The other thing I need to do is work out what height that plane is at so I can engage it, which we'll get onto that in a moment. So based on where the little dot is now on my radar on the left, I should be pointing towards it now. Let's check the map again. Yeah, I'm pointing towards it roughly, although it's clearly going past me. In fact, I think it's just destroyed one of my bases. So not a great start, but that's okay. Hopefully I can catch up with it because it's heading now towards one of the other bases, the Delta base. So I probably need to get my speed up a little bit. Try and catch up with it. Bottom right on the radar you can see a number. That's how many, I think, miles I am from it. It's currently 22, so I've got a bit of catching up to do. But I am starting to get closer to it. So the other thing, as I mentioned, is I need to work out what altitude I need to be at, and I do that by engaging the combat computer by pressing C. As you can see, that's now put a crosshairs on the screen, although it hasn't put how far I am from the enemy on the screen yet. There we go, that's done that. That's F7. So you can see that on the flight computer there now on the right, I'm at 20,000 and the enemy's at 31,000, so I need to get up a bit higher up as well to try and engage with this enemy, which has also got further away from me. Let's check the map again. Yeah, I'm really quite far away from it at the moment. Don't worry about the altitude too much at the moment, just get the speed up to try and catch up with it. So you don't really get any sort of illusion of speed because there's nothing on the ground to show you how fast you're moving. I could be going at 400 miles an hour or 800 miles an hour and I still wouldn't see any difference. The only difference really is when you increase the thrust you get a bit of a louder noise, and when you decrease it you get a bit of a less noise, and that's pretty much it. Now my altitude's a bit too high. So I'll continue on and try and engage with this ship. I mean, there's not much else to say about the game in terms of, you've seen the graphics, they're pretty basic. Sounds are pretty basic as well, it's just an engine noise. When you fire the gun, you do get a bit of a machine gun noise as well. That's about it. I don't think you've got missiles, or if you have, I don't know how you deploy them, which is a bit strange for an F-15, I would have thought. So I'm now roughly at the same altitude as the plane, the enemy that I'm approaching. I'm also, I think, on the same heading. It's just a question of whether I can catch the thing up. It looks like the number of miles between us is decreasing, so I am roughly on the same track as it now. Let's have another look. Yeah, I'm pretty much just chasing it towards that base now. I'm roughly in the middle of the map, and you can see I'm getting closer to it. Whether I'll get to it before it gets to that Delta base, I'm not too sure. So I'm now within 4 miles, or whatever they are, of the enemy, and I'm going to slow down a little bit now because they tend to travel at about 600 miles an hour, I believe. So try and maintain my altitude as well. Getting pretty close to it. Let's see if we'll get it on the screen. Just got to try and keep it ahead of me. This is where you've got, when your speed's decreasing, your altitude decreases as well, so you've got to kind of... Okay, let's try and keep it about there, that'll do. I've gone a little bit too high now, but hopefully I'll see this on the screen fairly soon, although I think I'm about to fly past it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so now all I've got to do is shoot it. Oh, it's gone. So now I'm basically in a dogfight, so I probably need to slow down a little bit. Ooh. See if I can get it in my sights again. Where are you? Oh, my altitude's dropped a little bit there. So yeah, now that's the tricky part of trying to get the enemy in your sights and shoot it, maintaining a similar altitude and a similar speed. I mean, it should be right in front of me by my reckoning, but I can't see it at the moment. Quickly check the map again. Yeah, I mean, we're right on top of each other. So I don't know where it is. It's here somewhere. There it is. Can I get him in my sights and blast him now? No, I've lost it again. Oh dear. No, he shot me. That was it. Ah, here we go. Oh, that was close. So as you can see, the enemy plane is not very well drawn. There we go, I got him. Hooray. So he shot me, so you get 4 hits. If you get hit 4 times, then you die. But if you shoot him, then what happens now is another enemy will come onto the map and you've got to engage that one. So, I'm not sure. Oh, it's coming on the bottom by the looks of it. Right in the middle at the bottom where it says 180 degrees, it looks like he's coming on there, and I'm miles away from him. 93 miles to be precise. So I've now got to get all the way across to there before he's probably heading for that Tango base near the mountains on the right hand side of the map. So I've got to try and intercept him. Also, he's at a much lower altitude. If you look at the flight computer, he's at 16,000 feet, so the first thing I've got to do is get down to a lower altitude as well. So there you go, that was a successful dogfight with an enemy plane. There's not really much more to the game in terms of the combat side. That was pretty much it. It's basically more about the simulation of flying. I've got to say, I'm not really a big fan of these kind of games. They're a bit dull. It's a lot of pressing buttons and watching gauges and not really much action. But this seems to be a reasonable version of such a game. So I'll head over to that second one and try and blast that one as well, and then probably call it a day, to be honest. So as you can see here from the map, I'm trying to get to the Tango base before he does. I don't think I'm going to, by the way. It looks like he's going to get there first and probably destroy it. I am gaining on him. I'm doing 800 miles an hour. I'm at the right altitude, but I'm still probably not going to intercept him, unfortunately. Yeah, he's definitely going to make it to that base before me, so we probably see that base get destroyed, which will just leave one base remaining. It's the bottom left there, which is Zulu. So we'll see what happens. I'm assuming he'll then turn around and try and head towards that one, at which point I might be able to intercept. So while we're just trundling along here, I should probably mention the controls. I think the joystick controls are pretty good. I mean, they're quite responsive. You can tilt left and right, you can go up and down quite well. It's just the background's really boring, so you don't really get any fun from flying around too much. So as expected, he did destroy that base, but I'm now on an intercept straight towards him by my reckoning. Let's check the map. Yeah, pretty much right near each other. In fact, he's probably right next to me right now. So it's just a case of getting him on the screen again. Probably slow down a little bit. Well, my altitude's gone a bit high now as well. You don't have to be at the exact same altitude to get to see them on screen, but you have to be pretty close. I think it's within 500 meters or something like that. So I'm a bit high up at the moment, but I've got him right in front of me, so hopefully he'll appear on screen again in a moment. Oh, here he is. Right, let's try and get him. Get some revenge. There we go, got him. I should apologise, by the way. I've probably talked about miles, feet, kilometres and all kinds of things during this. I've got no idea what the measurements are supposed to be. I suspect altitude's probably in feet. Speed's probably in miles per hour, but I'm just guessing. So basically after that, destroying that enemy, what happens is another one appears on the screen. You can see him coming across from the right hand side along the bottom there. He's obviously heading for Zulu base. But to be honest, there's not much more to demonstrate in the game. I'm fairly bored now, and I'm guessing you are too watching it. So I'm just going to cruise along in whatever direction I'm currently going and give the review scores. So for packaging, I'm going to go 7 out of 10. I thought the packaging was pretty decent. Nice image on the front cover and fairly detailed instructions. It would benefit from a diagram of the display, the control panel, I think, in the instructions. That would have helped a lot, but all the same, I think they were pretty good. So 7 out of 10 for them. Presentation also is pretty decent. Lots of game options. The title screen's reasonably good. The music not so much, but the title screen looks quite nice. But plenty of game options. So I'm going to go 8 out of 10 for presentation. Graphics are pretty plain. I think the control panel's nicely done, but the actual graphics for the horizon, the landscape and the sky are very boring. So 5 out of 10 for graphics. Sound, I'm going to give 3 out of 10. I think they've just basically got some engine noises, some firing noises and some pretty bad music on the title screen. So I can't really give it more than 3 out of 10 for the sound. Playability, I'll be honest, as I've already said, this is not my kind of game. It's a little bit dull. There's a lot of readouts and numbers that you've got to keep an eye on, and I get a bit bored with that kind of thing. The combat is reasonably engaging though, so overall I'm going to give it a playability rating of 5 out of 10. That gives it an overall score of 5.9. It's a pretty boring game in my mind, but if you're a fan of flight simulators, there's certainly a lot of depth and a lot of things to play around with if you're into that kind of thing. Unfortunately, it's just not my kind of thing. So 5.9 for the overall rating, and I don't really think it would have been worth $1.99 for me. There's no chance I would have ever bought this game because I'm not a fan of flight simulators. But all the same, not a bad game if you're into that kind of thing. So that's my review of Fighter Pilot. If you're a fan of these kind of games and you've played this in the past, then let me know what you thought in the comments. Okay, that's another review in the bag then. That means it's time for you guys to help me decide what I play in a future video. And the two choices are themed to shoot 'em ups this time, but one of them's vertically scrolling and one of them's horizontally scrolling. So which do you prefer? If it's horizontal, then you want to pick Scorpius, and if it's vertical, then you want to pick Denarius. Those are your choices, Scorpius or Denarius. So let me know in the comments which of those two games you think I should play next. And also, if you've got any comments about the game I've just played, then let me know in the comments section as well. I'll be back soon with another video, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.